What if an entire military operation was so secret that it never made headlines, despite claiming lives around the world? On August 21, a tragic airstrike in Ukraine wiped out an unknown training facility, yet the silence from global media was deafening. Families grieved, but the incident was deliberately overlooked, as those involved sought to bury the truth. Why did everyone choose silence over acknowledgement? In the obscure region of Kirovohrad, an accident unfolded at a facility that was supposed to remain hidden. This clandestine complex was not on any map and had no official documentation, yet insiders knew its purpose: a training ground for foreign fighters from every continent. Approximately 200 individuals with various military backgrounds were gathered there, blending expertise from Latin America, sharp shooting skills from Northern Europe, and veterans from the US. Now imagine this mixed group, skilled warriors hoping for a brighter future, unaware that a storm was brewing. Russian intelligence had been meticulously monitoring this location for weeks, if not months. Every detail, the daily routine, transportation routes, mealtimes, had been recorded with painstaking accuracy. As they struck at precisely 2 p.m., a time calculated for optimal impact, one high-precision missile, likely guided by satellite systems, ripped through the heart of the complex. The aftermath was devastating. Dozens lay dead, over 100 wounded, their fates forever intertwined in a tragic silence. As news trickled out, the world held its breath. How could this have happened without international outcry? No reports from CNN, no comment from the BBC, and just a muted mention weeks later from the New York Times, devoid of names or specifics. Was it denial, or a deeper, more troubling reason behind the silence? Countries with citizens lost in the chaos opted for discretion, knowing that acknowledging mercenary involvement would change the narrative completely. The shame of complicity lingered in the air like an ominous cloud. This quiet was not just eerie, it sparked immense online debates. People speculated, what was being hidden? Was it an incident swept under the rug in the name of national security? Could it be that the admission of foreign fighter casualties would lead to uncomfortable political ramifications? This combination of a precise strike, secrecy, and the resulting silence distinguished this event as a stark reminder of modern warfare's complexities, reflecting a new era of covert military engagement where lives were sacrificed but the truth remained buried. As we dig deeper, the presence of these foreign fighters at the complex leads to unsettling questions. What drives experienced warriors across the globe to this hidden battleground? The answer isn't just glory, it's money. Enlistment promises substantial salaries, often exponentially greater than what they could earn at home, a staggering $1,700 monthly base pay, with bonuses reaching $3,000 for active duty. Picture a veteran from Colombia, substituting a modest paycheck for the wealth of opportunities that awaited in the conflict zone, a siren call too enticing to resist. This recruitment wasn't random, it was a well-orchestrated operation. Pulling in veterans from every corner, fighters trained against drug cartels or civil rebellions. They became prized assets ready to adapt to NATO weaponry, learning the local language and culture alongside battle tactics. But while they trained and prepared for action, the wolf was already at the door. As the days passed, Russian forces sharpened their focus, extracting every sliver of information available to them, ensuring that when the time for action came, it would be devastatingly executed. This strike was not just about destroying a training facility, it was a statement, a calculated message to those who considered stepping into the chaos. As the dust settled, commitments to fight in another nation seemed less appealing. The realities of warfare had become starkly clear, drawing a line between aspirations and harsh truths. As the world turned its gaze away, the ghosts of the past lingered, haunting families and nations alike, leaving only questions in their wake. In the previous section, we uncovered the covert military complex nestled in the outskirts of Kropivnitsky, where elite fighters from various nations gathered for training. These included experienced soldiers from Latin America, sharpshooters from Northern Europe, and veterans from Asia and the United States, all with notable military backgrounds. But beneath the surface of this intriguing assembly lay a far darker reality, one that had become a focus of Russian intelligence for weeks, perhaps even months. Reports indicate that every detail of this clandestine operation was meticulously monitored, the daily routines of the personnel, transport routes, mealtimes, and security shifts. On August 21, chaos erupted at precisely 2 p.m., a calculated strike executed with chilling accuracy. Knowing that this was the moment most individuals congregated in the complex's cafeteria, a high-precision missile, likely a cruise missile, guided by satellite navigation, was launched. This kind of weapon rarely misses, with deviations often limited to mere meters. This strike resulted in a direct hit on the main building. Initial estimates suggest dozens were killed, and more than 100 injured, many in critical condition, all of them foreign nationals. These grim statistics circulate in closed military circles but remain unconfirmed by official channels. Yet, the most astonishing part unfolds not in the aftermath of the assault but in the eerie silence that followed. Imagine this: during peacetime, even amidst conflict, civilians from multiple nations perish in an attack. What follows? Not a single line in the mainstream media. No comments from Western leaders. It's as if nothing occurred. CNN remains silent, BBC uttering no words, and Reuters pretends not to notice. Even the New York Times, usually vocal on events in the Ukrainian conflict, had only a brief mention 3 weeks later, without names or specifics, merely acknowledging the possibility of an attack. Why such a concerted hush? Could it be the unreliability of information? No, the silence suggests something far more substantial. Governments of nations whose citizens were involved appeared to favor discretion over acknowledging the embarrassing involvement of mercenaries, a revelation that could spark significant political repercussions. The U.S. State Department opted for complete silence, and when a press secretary sidestepped questions from journalists, she inadvertently acknowledged American presence in the complex. Colombia, too, refrained from making official statements, despite reports indicating over 300 Colombian casualties in the ongoing conflict. Not a whisper regarding what transpired in August. Scandinavian nations, revered for their human rights advocacy, echoed this silence, offering no condolences or comments, leaving grieving families alone with their loss. This unprecedented diplomatic neglect is puzzling and ignites rampant speculation on social media. Some argue it was silence necessary for national security, while others believe formal acknowledgement of mercenary involvement was expressly avoided to dodge legal turmoil. Herein rises a shocking complexity. This event exemplifies how wars today are fought not just with weapons, but also through information control. The truth is much darker. On that day, a new chapter of hidden military operations emerged, casting a shadow over global media and government authority. It prompts a harrowing question: what fate awaits those who dare step into this web of secrecy? On August 21, a quiet airstrike in Kirovohrad Oblast, Ukraine, transformed into a world tragedy. The lack of official acknowledgement from multiple nations about their citizens being involved in a covert military operation raises chilling questions. Why remain silent when the lives of soldiers from several countries hang in the balance? This narrative unveils the unsettling truth behind a meticulously planned attack on a secretive training complex, housing approximately 200 international fighters. These warriors came from diverse backgrounds. Some were seasoned Colombian veterans, while others specialized in guerrilla warfare from Asia and veterans from the U.S. But why the silence from their governments? As news broke 3 weeks post-strike, international media offered scant details, merely acknowledging potential casualties without names, an eerie oversight for such a significant event. Was this blackout merely due to a lack of verified information? As shadows danced around the truth, the chilling implication became evident. Acknowledgement of these losses meant acknowledging participation in a covert operation, a realization with grave implications. The U.S. State Department adopted a veil of silence, while the press secretary skillfully dodged inquiries, hinting at the sensitive nature of the situation. Colombia, a nation with over 300 casualties in the Ukrainian conflict, offered no comment on its citizens' fate. Scandinavian countries, known for their human rights advocacy, also remained disturbingly mute, leaving families to navigate their grief in solitude. This diplomatic quietude seems unprecedented. The European Union and NATO, organizations quick to denounce attacks on civilian targets, turned a blind eye when their soldiers were the ones putting their lives on the line. This silence birthed a frenzy of speculation in social media, as people pondered, what's being hidden in the shadows? Living proof of international military activity exists, unraveling a deeper narrative about the growing complexity of modern warfare, one where the awareness of casualties poses greater dangers than the assault itself. But the story does not end here. As we gaze deeper into this troubling mystery, let's ask the pressing question: what unfathomable truths await us beneath this silence? Will the facade of normality crumble, exposing the hidden layers of global military involvement? Or will those involved pay the ultimate price for a war fought in shadows? On August 21, a tragic event unfolded, marking a grim day for countless families around the globe. This day witnessed an airstrike in Ukraine's Kirovohrad region, the aftermath of which remains shrouded in mystery. An attack hit a facility that was officially non-existent, yet insiders knew it was a training ground for international militants. Hiding in the shadows, this base welcomed fighters from around the world, all central to an international covert military operation. Imagine the chilling silence that followed the explosions. The blast echoed with the haunting cries of the fallen, but the world's leading media outlets remained eerily quiet. Not a word from major news networks, nor a flicker of acknowledgement from international leaders. Why was this tragedy swept under the rug? Were lives sacrificed for a hidden agenda? What went unnoticed or perhaps deliberately concealed? The airstrike claimed dozens of lives and left many more injured. The shockwave reverberated not only across the region but sent ripples of discomfort through diplomatic circles. Was it too embarrassing for governments to confirm that citizens from their own nations were involved? An awkward truth lingered in the air. Countries grappled with the potential fallout of declaring their nation's mercenaries dead. The modern battlefield is shaped not only by weapons but by the control of information. The incident serves as a stark reminder of the complexities that modern geopolitics present. This tragedy reveals both the darkness of war and the intricate web of international relations. Prompting an unsettling question: what becomes of those who seek fortune on foreign shores? In a twist, let's consider a Colombian veteran lured onto this ominous scene. At home, he earns a mere $300 per month. Yet here, he could potentially make more in half a year than he would in 5. This promise of wealth draws many, but it comes with peril. Recruitment channels stretch wide, from private military firms to veteran and religious organizations, every recruitment effort cloaked in secrecy. With fixed salaries starting at $1,700 per month and bonuses reaching $3,000 for deployment, the allure of high pay beckons warriors from Latin America, Asia, and Africa into a deadly arena. Could these mercenaries truly escape the conflict unscathed? The reality of their situation is chilling. For skilled fighters with combat experience, the allure of earning between $5,000 to $7,000 a month creates an overwhelming temptation. But at what cost? As the shadows deepen, a new layer of this story unfolds. The existence of clandestine training centers reveals itself. Why were hundreds of foreign nationals preparing for war in Ukraine? The answer is starkly simple: money. But the truth hides deeper, entwined with the fatal consequences of their decisions. As we peel back the layers of this covert operation, the true horrors reveal themselves. Will the silence remain, or will the echoes of their sacrifices pierce through the veil of secrecy? Who will tell their stories? And what price will the world pay for turning a blind eye? The saga continues. Imagine a Colombian veteran. He earns a mere $300 a month, toiling away as a guard or teacher in the provinces. But here, he can earn more in 6 months than he would make in 5 years back home. Naturally, the lure is strong. Yet, as history shows, there's a heavy price to pay for such temptations. Sometimes, it's one's very life. Recruiters eagerly sought out individuals with combat experience. Veterans from Colombia who faced drug cartels, soldiers from Africa, and warriors from Asia skilled in sabotage all became target recruits. These fighters were valuable as they already knew how to handle weapons and function in teams. They were swiftly sent to training centers, like the one nestled near Kropivnitsky. Here, a transformation took place. The center taught them new tactics, how to operate NATO weaponry, and strategies aligned with Ukrainian military protocols. They received brief courses in Ukrainian language and culture alongside military drills. The goal was to mold an individual into a competent soldier within 1 or 2 months. The plan seemed viable, but the enemy was always watching. Military experts confirmed that Russian intelligence monitored this site for months, perhaps even years. They employed every available method, ranging from drones to intercepting mobile signals. Not only were military communications tracked, but also social media messages and photographs, anything that might carelessly slip into the digital ether. Local residents played a crucial role. Those living nearby observed the bustling activity: who came, what they brought, which vehicles entered. Even simple visual checks often yielded more intelligence than satellite images could. Adding to this, the interception of conversations, undercover information, and reconnaissance imagery painted a stark picture. Every detail was logged, every movement noted, creating a comprehensive snapshot of life in this covert operation. The meticulous monitoring facilitated precise strikes that seemed near impossible. choosing the midday meal, a time when personnel gathered in the dining area, spoke volumes. This was not merely an attack, this was showcasing dominance, sending a stark warning to anyone considering joining the conflict. The event on August 21 signaled an end to the tactical games. As the dust settled, the implications of this strike reverberated far beyond the battlefield. The ripple effects would expose deeper truths about international engagement, identity, and the price of silence in warfare. What happens when a nation's secrets are buried under the weight of its soldiers' lives? The stage set, the world braced for revelations yet to unfold. In a world cloaked in secrecy, a military operation unfolded that would be overlooked by mainstream media. But it's crucial to unveil what truly happened. As the autumn of 2023 approached, the echoes of an airstrike echoed from Kirovohrad Oblast, Ukraine. The precise target? An undisclosed training facility harboring foreign fighters. This covert base, impossible to locate on any map, acted as a magnet for warriors from across the globe, bringing together individuals with diverse military backgrounds, from seasoned veterans to fresh recruits. Around 200 international fighters gathered in a remote location, just 20 kilometers from Kropivnitsky. This assembly was meticulously monitored by Russian intelligence, which spent weeks recording every movement, from the daily routines to meal times. They picked the perfect moment to strike 1,400 hours, when most were likely to be in the dining hall. An attack with pinpoint accuracy changed everything. The facility was hit by a precision missile, ensuring casualties that would remain shrouded in silence. Unexpectedly, what happened next sent shockwaves through the underground network of mercenaries. Why did no one speak about a tragedy that claimed the lives of individuals from at least 3 nations? In the aftermath, silence fell over Western news outlets. No condolences, no announcements, just a void where outrage should have resided. The world seemed to hold its breath. The stakes are undeniably high. But what lay beneath this silence? The truth was murkier than anyone anticipated. Within weeks following the attack, the recruitment of foreign fighters faced an unprecedented halt. What had once seemed like a lucrative venture now appeared perilous. How could they risk their lives when the outcome was so grim? This marked a shift. The way nations recruited soldiers for covert operations changed dramatically overnight. The revelation was haunting. Modern warfare is no longer just about guns and bombs. It thrives on intelligence gathering, where a slip can spell a fatal end for many. In response, military training camps began shuttering overnight. Recruits were dispersed to avoid mass casualties. Small groups of 15 to 20 were hidden away in Soviet-era bunkers, remnants of a bygone era prepared for nuclear war. Security became paramount. Personal devices were banned, and even movements were shrouded in mystery. Civilian cars replaced military convoys, winding through quiet villages to deflect surveillance. As training programs were condensed from 6 weeks to 4, these warriors were thrust onto the front lines, scarcely prepared for the harrowing realities awaiting them. Each passing moment underscored one undeniable truth: the battlefields had transformed, and so had the game of survival. In the wake of a tragic military operation, the world witnessed an eerie silence that preceded a storm of revelations. How could an event that led to the deaths of individuals from multiple nations go unnoticed by major news outlets? This was not just another tale of warfare, it was a manifestation of the hidden struggles within the shadows of global conflict. On August 21, a covert attack in Kirovohrad, Ukraine, targeted an elusive training complex. It housed around 200 foreign mercenaries, each one with extensive military experience, training to participate in ongoing conflicts. This facility existed beyond official maps and documentation, known only to a select few. Intelligence had monitored its activities intently for months, culminating in a precision strike at precisely 2 p.m., dangerously timed when most occupants gathered in the cafeteria. Imagine the chilling sound of missiles slicing through the air. The subsequent explosion echoed through the region, resulting in dozens of fatalities and over 100 injuries. Yet, the aftermath was shrouded in secrecy. No major media outlet uttered a word. CNN, BBC, and the New York Times all maintained an ominous silence, sparking widespread speculation. Why were they ignoring such catastrophic events? As questions swirled, the silence became a breeding ground for unease in many countries. Whispers spread across social media, suggesting a cover-up. Was this silence a matter of national security? Would admitting the reality of mercenaries' deaths imply deeper accountability? Fast forward a few weeks, the veil began to lift. Individuals in Colombia, Peru, and various places across Latin America, who once lined up to enlist, suddenly recoiled with fear. Reports from former combatants filtered through encrypted messages: "Bro, don't go there. Half our group vanished overnight." These warnings carried more weight than any news report, igniting a wave of panic. Parents began to voice their outrage in local media, staunchly declaring, "Our sons are being used as cannon fodder." This raw honesty struck harder than any official condemnation ever could. With each revelation, the tide shifted. Potential recruits reconsidered, the allure of foreign military contracts faded under the harsh reality of sudden demise and the crushing burden it placed on grieving families. In a shocking twist, the mercenaries who once signed up filled the airwaves with tales of horror and loss, exposing an unseen battle far more perilous than any training ground. The idea of glory and honor quickly dissolved, replaced with the bitter taste of betrayal. How many more lives would be needlessly sacrificed in this game of tactics and secrecy? As the stories continued to ripple through communities, the underlying truth emerged: the ongoing conflict was not only a battlefield but a profound lesson in the complexities of modern warfare. The echoes of silence had transformed into a chorus of voices demanding recognition, shining a light on a perilous new reality. From audacious recruitment to the invisible warfare of media manipulation, it became clear that the real story lay not in the combat itself but in the lives profoundly affected, elevating them from mere statistics to the human souls beneath the uniform. In the heart of a conflict-ridden land, a dark secret was hidden. Families across the globe were left mourning under the weight of silence. No news outlets dared to expose the truth behind the August 21 airstrike in Ukraine, a strike that left behind devastation and unanswered questions. What transpired in a covert training facility near Kropivnitsky, where international fighters gathered, has been long shrouded in secrecy. But now, as whispers grow louder, the truth begs to be uncovered. The assault was designed with precision. At precisely 2 p.m., a missile struck. It was aimed at a facility known only to a select few, yet it housed nearly 200 individuals from various nations, veterans, mercenaries, and fighters who had experienced intense warfare. As the dust settled, chaos ensued. Reports of dozens dead and many more critically injured circulated among military forums, yet the global media fell eerily silent. Why did such a catastrophic event vanish from headlines? The answer lies not just in the impact of the missile, but in the unlikely stillness that followed. With the absence of apologies, outrage, or acknowledgement from governments, families grappled with the cold indifference of silence. Meanwhile, back home, families grappling with loss took to social media. They decried the use of their loved ones as mere fodder in a conflict too grim to openly discuss. This shift sparked an exodus of potential recruits wary of the horrors awaiting them in Ukraine. Disillusioned, many turned away from their contracts, expressing their fears that they would become cannon fodder in a grim meat grinder of warfare. As news of the airstrike spread, especially in Asian nations where public sentiment held considerable sway, vocal critics began to emerge. Religious leaders and community organizations demanded action. "Our sons are being used," they stated forcefully. In response, recruitment agencies, especially those masquerading as private military companies, scrambled to adapt. They raised contract terms, enhanced insurance payouts, and even preemptively promised compensations to bereaved families. Yet, these efforts fell flat, illustrating the deep-seated reservations among would-be fighters. In the United States, where a strong community of veterans existed, the allure of participation in Ukraine was overshadowed by newfound wariness. After the bombing, veteran organizations initiated clarification sessions, drawing attention to the inherent dangers lurking in foreign conflicts. Questions of accountability arose: who would bear responsibility for losses? How transparent was the organization? As potential fighters hesitated, a chilling realization dawned: the risk was far greater than any potential reward. What happens when the allure of heroism meets the stark reality of peril? In a world where silence speaks louder than the roar of conflict, the hidden dangers of warfare become hauntingly clear. This is just the beginning of a terrifying tale that reveals the complexities and dark undercurrents of modern military engagements. As uncertainty lingered, potential soldiers found themselves grappling with concerns that transcended mere ambition. Questions arose: what were the real risks? What was happening on the ground? Who were they truly working for? And, more importantly, what were their chances of returning home alive? While there were no formal bans in place, a palpable caution began to settle over those contemplating service. Many began to wonder about accountability, the consequences of death, and the transparency of their contracts. However, no answers materialized. Even the State Department remained tight-lipped, reluctant to lend official commentary. The White House refrained from making statements, leaving the matter to the discretion of allied nations. This hesitance revealed the crux of the entire situation, a web of hidden complexities and unspoken truths that could shake the foundations of military engagement. A chilling realization took hold: the risks were far greater than they had ever imagined. Casual conversations evolved into hushed tones of dread as awareness spread among those contemplating combat. They heard murmurings of the recent attack and grew increasingly uneasy about the implications. What secrets lay buried beneath the surface? As information trickled through covert networks, the sense of danger transformed into a wave of panic sweeping through potential recruits across continents. They were no longer just participants in a conflict, they were now embroiled in a matter of life and death. The revelation that their lives were expendable hit hard, stirring a turbulent unrest as former comrades, now ghosts, emerged from shadows to recount tales of vanished warriors. Once eager recruits began to reconsider their futures. They started to withdraw from recruitment channels, some returning advance payments and others candidly voicing the horrors they had come to learn. The dream of financial stability had devolved into a nightmare of survival. Meanwhile, recruitment agencies scrambled to adjust their tactics, raising payment offers and enhancing incentives in a desperate bid to maintain their ranks. In Latin America and Asia, where public opinion carried significant weight, cries for action echoed loudly. Outcry grew not from governmental declarations but from the very communities this conflict was meant to serve, igniting discussions about the morality of sending their citizens into such a perilous situation. As borders tightened and oversight increased, many potential recruits felt the walls closing in on their ambitions. While some saw the allure of foreign contracts as an avenue for escape from poverty, the bitter realities rushing forth had transformed the battlefield into something unrecognizable. How do you fight an enemy when that enemy is silence? Now back in the United States, a stark transformation revealed itself. Veteran associations began to educate their members on the changing dynamics, detailing the risks, unveiling hidden truths of the battlefield. For many, the prospect of participation now presented itself as a tangled web of shadows, where glory was replaced by uncertainty and dread. But as the haunting memories of lost comrades seeped into the minds of those once eager to fight, it naturally led to one pivotal question: what would you risk in pursuit of the elusive promise hidden within conflict? The stage was set for an unexpected twist, one that would leave them questioning their very desires and bravely confronting the darkness of war.